The main event for UFC 298 will be between Alexander Volkanovski and Ilia Topuria, and this matchup is going to be a really big one because we have a very good undefeated prospect in Ilia Topuria who's pretty much well-balanced, and then you have like one of the most well-balanced fighters in the UFC currently in Alexander Volkanovski, one of the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he's had like over 1,600 days as champ, and he's extremely active as well, so that's even more impressive there. But this matchup is really big. A lot of people are pinpointing this one as the matchup that Volkanovski might actually get dethroned at featherweight. Ilia Topuria has actually looked extremely good. I know he hasn't fought multiple like top 5 guys or anything like that, but skill for skill, they think he's going to do very well against Alexander Volkanovski. And recently, from what we've seen from Alexander Volkanovski, you kind of notice the shield kind of crack a little bit. Like you know Alexander Volkanovski, he's the guy that's going to have that chip on his shoulder, where he wants to prove things every single fight. Like you saw that third Max Holloway fight, he's just talking trash the entire time, just completely outstriking him. He likes having that chip on his shoulder. Same thing with the Makhachev fight in their first fight. Obviously, the short notice one, you kind of saw the crack in Volkanovski's armor after he got KO'd. Obviously, it seemed like there's a lot of stuff going on there. I won't say there's excuses after, because I think that's a pretty rough way of looking at it, but there are mentioning things like Volkanovski, it sounds like he got a little bit comfortable and then he took that fight on short notice and he definitely wasn't ready. Of course, it could be some excuse or whatever you want to call it. You kind of seen that crack in Volkanovski's armor, and the chip is kind of growing back on his shoulder, but Topuria is just such a good fighter. I'm going to go over the matchup real quick. I'm not going to say, oh, he's a good fighter. I'm going to go over the matchup, tell you guys how I think these guys can approach this fight and who I think will end up winning. This is the end-up breakdown of this fight. Obviously, I'll do a full card prediction, but I'm going to get this fight out pretty early. So for this one, again, Volkanovski, his last fight was a loss to Islam Makhachev about 3 months ago. He got KO'd. And again, that was a pretty rough one to see, especially the way he reacted after that, and he wanted to get back in there. So a lot of people were like, okay, hold on. But it's only been 3 months since that fight. And again, he's super active. 5 months before, 2 months. He's a very active fighter. But Ilia Topuria is a guy with a lot of power in his hands. A lot of good combinations, really strong wrestler. He's kind of a very similar size as Alexander Volkanovski. And what I will say is Volkanovski in a lot of his fights, his height definitely benefits him, especially with his reach. He has a 71.5-inch reach with his height, which makes it a lot challenging for his opponents to fight him. Like even like a Max Holloway, who I think has like 70 inches of reach. I will say, I should probably check this real quick. Just to double check, he has 69 inches of reach, and Volkanovski has longer reach than him at 5'6". So his height makes it very difficult for guys to fight him, especially taller, because you have to get a little bit lower. It benefits him wrestling and even like counter wrestling. You saw that in the first Makhachev fight. He definitely did a better job than a lot of Makhachev's opponents at defending the takedowns because of his size. So there's a lot to be said about Volkanovski's size, especially at featherweight. Ilia Topuria can kind of match that, and Topuria again has the power in his hands. He's a very good wrestler as well, a very good grappler. So Volkanovski can't really lean on that game against Yair Rodriguez. And I kind of want to see what they look like in the grappling. I don't think he'll get there. However, Topuria looks very strong. He even submitted a guy like Bryce Mitchell. I know he beat him up quite a bit, but I kind of want to see what the wrestling looks like against both of these guys, because they're both extremely well balanced. So if he does get to the ground, I kind of want to know what that looks like, because I think Topuria, I don't know, something about it seems like he's just a lot stronger. I think as the fight goes on, if it does get in the later rounds, maybe Volkanovski can maybe implement some of the wrestling, because I think if it does get into a high-paced fight, which is what Alexander Volkanovski is kind of used to, Topuria might tire out a little bit. But again, we saw him in a 5-round fight. He kind of held his own against Josh Emmett. I mean, more than his own. He completely dominated Josh Emmett, kind of fought at his own pace. However, in this way, Volkanovski is going to need to work on the outside just as a matchup. Topuria likes to fight in the pocket. Volkanovski is going to have to go on the outside and circle around. We just saw Volkanovski get KO'd, so there was always kind of a question about Volkanovski's durability. I know he wasn't necessarily getting flatlined, but he was getting dropped by Max Holloway like a couple times in that was the second fight. So, I mean, there's always been that question about Volkanovski's chin a little bit. He got KO'd in his last fight. That was, 3 months ago? So you kind of wonder how much damage is there. Topuria has a lot of power in his hands. Like, he's brutalizing a lot of these guys in this division. Like Josh Emmett, he beat pretty badly. Probably could have finished a couple times, depending on, I guess, who the ref is in there. Maybe if it was Mark Goddard. I don't even know who's reffing that, but maybe certain refs would probably stop it. But he did a lot of damage on Josh Emmett in that fight. Completely beat him down. Same thing with Bryce Mitchell on the feet and on the ground. Jai Herbert, he got hurt early on, but finished it. Wow, that was only 2 years ago too. So again, Alexander Volkanovski will need to go on the outside, circle around, beat up the outside leg of Topuria. Topuria, he leaves that his left outside leg extremely open because he likes to walk guys down. You saw that in the Josh Emmett fight. It was completely open. Emmett didn't go for the leg too much. I mean, Topuria likes the leg kick a little bit, but Volkanovski can definitely tap the outside leg and then just circle around and kind of make it really hard for Topuria to kind of settle down and counter for Volkanovski. But here's the thing. With this fight, Topuria does a really good job at punching in combinations. I think a guy like Volkanovski, who does kind of crash a little bit, you notice that in his fight, he crashes a little bit forward, and although he's extremely quick, the first thing that kind of goes, especially at these lower weight classes, is the speed, and I don't like that coming into the matchup against Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria is a powerful guy, but he does have a little bit of speed. But again, this is more like speed versus power more than anything, because Volkanovski is extremely fast. Doesn't have crazy power, but again, it's extremely fast. And Topuria has a lot of power, is fast, but not on the level of Volkanovski. So what I will say is that the first thing to go, especially for a guy like Volkanovski at the featherweight division in the lower weight classes, is going to be the speed. And I do think that potentially that Topuria can catch Volkanovski coming in and eventually hurt him very badly, get him like knock him down to the ground and finish him up on the ground. Kind of, I won't say similar to Islam, because Islam hit him with the head kick, and I don't think Topuria is gonna hit him with a head kick, because I don't even think he throws head kicks that much. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the last time Topuria even threw a head kick. So I think Topuria can kind of just stay in the pocket. Again, Volkanovski will literally just need to be looking at that outside leg, but I think just Volkanovski in general, he thinks he's very good on the feet. He is extremely good on the feet, but he has that chip on his shoulder. He's out to prove something. I just think at this point, 35 years of age, I mean, he's on that border of where I think Volkanovski's prime is and where he's going to be out of his prime. He's definitely getting older. I think a younger Topuria, who's 27 years of age, which is absolutely insane, can counter a guy like Volkanovski, catch him coming in, and KO him with the TKO strike. So I am going to go Ilia Topuria in this fight, although I do think his outside leg is pretty open. He's very confident. Volkanovski's very confident. I just think eventually Volkanovski will find himself in the pocket and end up getting caught by Topuria. So that's really what I'm basing it on. I don't think Volkanovski's going to be able to stay on the outside for much long. I think Topuria, if he is having problems with Volkanovski on the outside, will eventually close the distance. Maybe even like push Volkanovski up against the pits. Because here's the thing, Volkanovski can't rely on his wrestling. So if Topuria pushes forward and Volkanovski can't get out, he's going to have a hard time with Topuria's power in this fight. And I even think like Yair hurt Volkanovski in that last fight. I mean, just going off of how much damage Volkanovski has taken. He didn't take a crazy amount of damage against Yair, but he got hurt pretty badly. When Yair was up against the fence and he was looking for a takedown, he got hurt pretty badly there, ended up getting it and finishing the fight. But same thing with Islam, like he's been taking quite a bit of damage. So I think at this point, especially at featherweight, cutting that weight, I think Ilia Topuria is just going to KO Volk in the second or third round by TKO strikes. I think he's going to knock him down and finish him up on the ground. I think Volkanovski's going to bite a little bit too much. And I do think the first round, I think Volkanovski's going to wait out a little bit more, just light kick and kind of jab and circle around, kind of duck out of Topuria's hooks and stuff like that. Because Topuria, although he does throw in combinations, he kind of overthrows at certain points with like the left hook. He does kind of leave himself open there, so maybe Volkanovski can attack him there as well. But I think the first round is going to be a real filler round. I think it's going to be quite like stationary. I don't think there's going to be too many strikes thrown, but I think in the second or third round, it's definitely going to pick up. And I think Topuria is going to land that counter shot, like a counter left, counter right hook on Volkanovski coming in, and I think he's going to end up like dropping him and finishing him up on the ground. So I'm going Ilia Topuria, second or third round, TKO. I think probably third round. I'll say TKO. I just think it's that time for Volkanovski. He's taken a lot of damage. I think two months between the Yair Rodriguez and the Islam fight, and then 3 months after the Islam fight where he got KO'd. So I'm going Ilia Topuria, third round TKO. He has been really confident, so you're kind of wondering like if he is even having trouble with Volkanovski in that fight. Will he kind of just shut down and it's just going to be an embarrassing performance for him or something like that? You can kind of see it happening because Topuria is talking a lot, so it will definitely be a very interesting fight to see what happens. But I'm going to stick with Topuria here. I think the power is just going to be a little bit too much. I just think his ability to catch Volkanovski, where Volkanovski is not going to be able to rely on the takedowns, is not going to help him here. So I'm going Ilia Topuria, third round TKO. Let me know who you guys have in the comments below, and I'll see you guys